NASCAR and Chicago have the absolute worst luck from rain, TV times, and saucy sadness. Let's chat about it. Hey everyone, if you don't know me, my name is Taylor Kitchen and welcome to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we do motorsports media your way, talking about NASCAR literally all the time. Saturday was gorgeous for the Xfinity Series, not a raindrop in sight, a fantastic battle between SVG and Kyle Larson for the eventual win. SVG would get his third win of the season, third in a row on a road course. I told you also. But a fantastic battle, very, very cool. Fans enjoyed concerts Saturday night, and it was turning out to be a really good weekend, a nice turnaround from the year before. However, the green flag was about to drop for the Cup Series. We were about to get going. And then the rain came. Teams had to deal with varying tire strategies. Do we go with wet weather tires, slick tires? And then, of course, the caution came out on lap 26, which turned into a red flag for rain. We kept trying to go back green. We started the engines at one point, then we had to turn them off for another incoming shower. And it was just a nightmare. It was shades of last year, which I really wanted to avoid. Not just myself, everybody wanted to avoid something similar to last year. And we then deemed that the race needed to end by 8:20, regardless of where we are in the event. That was another issue that we incurred during this race, another barrier to making this race successful, which we'll talk about the end time of the race and why it was the way it was later on, but let's continue on. The NASCAR Cup Series got back to racing with less than 90 minutes to go in the event. The race was chugging along, and then there was a caution with less than 12 minutes to go with Josh Berry. And right before that point, Alex Bowman had gotten to the lead over Joey Hand. And it was just a matter of the laps, or I guess the clock, winding down until it hit zero. At that point, Alex Bowman was ahead, and he is your winner of the Grant Park 165, his first win in 80 races. It was also such a gamble by Alex Bowman and other drivers that were towards the front of the pack during that restart because they decided not to pit. They were running on wet weather tires while the rest of the field, like Christopher Bell, who was running really fast lap times, Tyler Reddick, were on slicks, and they were making up quick time. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't get to Alex Bowman and then Joey Hand, who was in second at the time, quick enough. So Alex Bowman does snap that winless streak, a very emotional win for him between having a broken back and a head injury in the past 2 years. This was a much needed victory for that 48 team. Plus, this was Blake Harris's first win as a crew chief, which is also very exciting. Alex Bowman now, of course, locked into the playoffs with his Hendrick teammates, and that playoff bubble is looking a little bit more rocky. I did say at the beginning of the season, and I've said this throughout the live streams I've done, I knew that Alex Bowman would win at some point. He's been consistent this season, and though he's not always in the conversation with his Hendrick teammates, he still is a decent driver. I just did not have it on my bingo card that he would win at Chicago. I don't think any of us had it on our bingo cards, to be quite honest with you, but I am glad he finally got the win, a true weight off his shoulders with, I just think, the constant pressure of kind of contending with that 9, 5, and 24 car. So really good job for that team. Now, here's my concern though. We know Bowman's history of winning at racetracks, and then the following year, they are no longer on the schedule, or they just fall off the face of the earth. Will that happen to Chicago's street course? I don't know. We'll talk about it later, but let's go to the rest of our top 10. Tyler Reddick, 2 weeks in a row where he could have won a race, 2 weeks in a row where he did not. As the laps were winding down, he was catching up to Alex Bowman. He was on his tail, and quite honestly, in my opinion, I think he was just trying way too hard to get past Bowman on those final few laps as the clock was winding down, and he honestly did not have to. He had 20-lap fresher tires. He could have gotten around Bowman to get the win, but unfortunately, he ended up clipping a corner, and he just lost way too much time, and it just sucks because, again, could have been a win for the 45. I know Reddick has been hard on himself for making these small little mistakes that have cost him, and this is another instance where it did, unfortunately. Ty Gibbs and Joey Hand in the third and fourth position both led laps. Joey Hand actually won a stage, which is very impressive. Ty Gibbs, of course, led some laps, so very good day for those two. In the fifth position, we have McDowell. Sixth, Stenhouse Jr. Seventh, Todd Gilliland, another great week for him. Eighth, William Byron. It's been a while since I feel like I've mentioned his name in a positive way during these races. He's had a rough patch. Speaking of a rough patch, ninth, Kyle Busch. Very good top 10 day for them after just a bad past few weeks. And then, of course, 10th, Ryan Blaney, again, a driver who struggled the entirety of this race and with some strategy and good calls in there was able to salvage a top 10 day. So I mentioned Christopher Bell. He had fresher tires as the time was winding down, had a chance to potentially contend for the win. Unfortunately, though, on lap 55, his teammate got turned around. There was a pack of just cars all around each other fighting for position. Truex got turned around into Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell did not finish this race, credited with a 37th place finish. Martin Truex Jr. was able to finish the race, but finished 33rd. When I started this episode, I talked about how great SVG and Larson's battle was during the Xfinity Series race. We were hoping we'd see that in the Cup Series race. We were all very excited. I was excited about it, at least. And unfortunately, we really didn't get that with early incidents. SVG was taken out on lap 26, unfortunately, could not defend his win from last year. Briscoe just slid, I think took the turn way too hot into turn 6. It clipped SVG. SVG got a lot of damage on the side of his car, did not finish the race. And as for Kyle Larson, one of the hardest hits I have seen into turn 6 on lap 35, he just charged right into turn 6. He locked up the tires. Basically, that whole point between the tire kind of wall in turn 6 and just the corner where the concrete is, Larson just kind of wedged his car right in between there. It was a very hard hit, so glad to see he's okay. But then, of course, the favorite, or one of the favorites going into this race, again, taken out way too early. Now, he's in a bit of a situation. Now, the regular season's points championship is now a little bit tighter with him and Chase Elliott. Obviously, Larson missing out on Coca-Cola 600 points is a big deal. This makes that challenge for him winning the regular season a little bit more challenging. And looking at the point standings in particular right now, let's shift our focus to playoff points. Alex Bowman, of course, is locked in, so he doesn't have to worry about will I make it into the playoffs or not. Here's who does have to worry, though. Ross Chastain, plus 53 to the good, right below him. Chris Buescher, plus 45 to the good. He is 16th in that playoff points rank, so right below him, Bubba Wallace, minus 45, and Briscoe, minus 88. Bubba Wallace qualified really well today inside the top 10. He had a good race going. I know that there was some contact between him and Alex Bowman on track. Alex Bowman said, hey, I was trying to fix something in the car, and I just made a silly mistake. I ruined the 23's day. And of course, after the race, Bubba Wallace showed his displeasure seemingly towards Alex Bowman on his victory lap. I would be frustrated too if that was the case. Regardless, a very frustrating end to Bubba's day. So we're looking at potentially him having to get a race win at this point, as the chances to get in on points are slowly winding down. The big story of this race is obviously the decision by NASCAR in their rulebook section 8.5.7.6.c. A lot of numbers, one letter, basically to announce that if the race could not make the advertised race distance, the 75 lap distance, that NASCAR would decide to conclude the race at 8:20 Central Time or 9:20 Eastern Time, which means once that timer hit the 0 marker, essentially, the leader would get a 1 to go. There would be no overtime restarts at all for this, and whoever reached the checkered flag after that 1 to go would win the race. The argument by fans, as it always is NASCAR should have moved up the start time, at least the day of, an hour or 30 minutes before. But here's the thing there, you're risking fans not knowing that the race is going to move an hour before or 30 minutes before, and you're risking your fans not getting to the race on time. That's always a risk you take, so I understand it's not just exclusive to the Chicago street course, but still there's a risk involved. The second issue is the TV schedule for Sunday. Of course, IndyCar had their race at Mid-Ohio. Hence, I'm sunburned. I was there. Congrats to Pato O'Ward on his win. I was awesome to see. But again, IndyCar was on NBC right before the Cup Series went at Chicago. And you got to kind of pick and choose. Do you boot IndyCar to another channel or not? And I kind of don't think that's fair, to be quite honest with you. And can you do that? Should you do that? I don't know. So that's another issue too. Another argument to add to this was, well, when NASCAR was putting the schedule together for 2024, they should have put the race earlier in the day. Like, okay, guys, I get it. I really do. But then again, you're going to have the same conflict. When does IndyCar need to have their race? When do these other series or other sports that we have on the NBC main channel have their races? Again, it's not just NASCAR. NBC loves NASCAR. You can tell by the broadcast. You can tell by the care they put into the shots and the commentary and things like that. But they have other contracts with other sports and other series as well. It's not just NASCAR first all the time. That said, we can't always ask for perfection, even though we always want it. And also, NASCAR can't control the weather. They can't control rain. I wish we could, but we can't, and we have had the worst luck with it the past few weeks. I guess the only hope we can have is that this new TV deal allows NASCAR to be more flexible with the race start times, and even too with how long potentially we can have a race like on air on a certain network. Of course, that also has to do with, lights at a track, rain, noise, rules, I guess, in certain areas, for lack of a better word. But still, I think the message is not everything can be perfect. We kind of had to just accept this is what it is. But again, it sucks that the Chicago Street Course, a race that we were really hoping would thrive this year, ended on a kind of sour note because of all these different rules and regulations, which in my opinion, rightfully so, were put in place. And of course, after this bad experience for some fans during Sunday's Cup Series race, they're like, oh, we should never go back to Chicago. Like, why are we doing this? Like, I kind of don't understand that mindset. Like, I kind of get it, especially if you were at the track the past 2 years and you were caught in the rain and it just sucked. Like, I understand that for sure. But here's the thing. We saw a fantastic Xfinity Series race. And when we did go racing for the Cup Series and the weather was fine, the racing was fantastic. We had all these concerts, Keith Urban, Lauren Elena, all these fantastic artists that came out. We were able to have the concert this year and it brought so many first-time fans to the track. This is such a big and monumental race for NASCAR. It's great publicity. Not only is it that, but again, I thought the product was really good for what we were able to see. So I do think if given the opportunity, we should come back to Chicago in 2025 long term. I don't know what that looks like. Do we get a date in 2026 and beyond? I don't know, especially if we're looking at races in Mexico and or Canada. Does that mean Chicago loses a date? Or do we go back to Road America for a 4th of July race weekend or Daytona? I would love that. I don't know. But I don't think Chicago should leave the schedule just yet. I think it is just around weather that has really caused this event to have a light downfall, and I put that in really big quotes, towards the end of the race weekend. Overall for this race, though, I didn't like it as well as last year, which is surprising for me to say. It's just the length of the stage cautions was bizarre. The length of cautions for on-track incidents was either bizarre or right on. It was just frustrating to me, quite honestly, that we spent most of the race just kind of riding around under the yellow flag than I felt like we were actually racing. However, there were some really exciting on-track battles. Again, as the clock was winding down for the race to end, we saw some fantastic battles there around lap 12. SVG and Ty Gibbs fighting for the lead. That was exciting too. Kind of using Ryan Preece as a pick to kind of go around him. Masterclass move by SVG. Like, that was really fun. Honestly, the battles that we were able to see was great, but because of kind of how things were managed on the side of cautions and things like that, it just kind of disjointed the race. Like, I felt like I was waiting a lot of the time, minus like the red flag situation with the rain. It just didn't have the same feel as I would have liked. So I'm going to give this race a 59%, which is above the yellow line, not by much, but it's definitely there. Again, not as good as last year. But I also want to say I appreciate the effort that NASCAR and everyone involved put into this, because this is not an easy effort. We are turning a normal street that people drive on every day into a racetrack for a week, and that's a big deal. So I appreciate the effort. I want to see this track back again next year. Hopefully we are more lucky with weather. This year, just at the end of the day, with the Cup Series at least, wasn't my cup of tea. So what are your thoughts on the second year at the Chicago Street Course? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we are done with this episode of Above the Yellow Line. Make sure to follow us on social media and check out our website, AboveTheYellowLine.com, to get your hats and to figure out more about us. And for more minute-by-minute NASCAR news, go to TobyChristie.com. You can find his social media accounts there. And of course, at AboveTheYellowLine.com, you can find the ATYL social media accounts there as well. We are back going live this week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about Chicago and previewing Pocono. I'm so excited. I love Pocono. I'm very excited we're finally going back there again this weekend. So be on the lookout for our live stream. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for the support. Bye.